So last lesson, we looked at how to solve for the side of a triangle using trigonometry. And this time we're going to keep doing the same thing, but we're going to be finding when it's the denominator that is unknown. So the rearranging equation step is going to be a bit different. To start off though, we'll do a quick question based off last week's work. So just to remind us, we're going to do the same four steps as last time. And so I'll write them down just so we got them. I think I have to write and then move it, which is a pain. Yeah, that worked. So step 1 was label the triangle. Step 2 was find the ratio. So we're using sine, cos, or tan. Number 3 was write the equation. And lastly, number 4 was solve the equation. So we're going to do all those 4 things again. Let's see if I can make it bigger or smaller. I can. So let's get a question. Let's say we're trying to find the unknown side in this right-angled triangle. So I'll say that this side is 10 meters. Let's say this side is unknown. Alright, that box just looks like it's going to be selected. And then let's say this side, this angle in here, let's go, looks about 65 degrees. Okay, so first of all, we'll be labeling the triangle following step 1. So if this is the angle that we're caring about, well, the hypotenuse doesn't change, but x is opposite of that angle, and this side is adjacent. So I know here in this question, I've got a value for O that I'm trying to find, and we have the value for H. So I'm going to be using O and H. Now, O and H, we think so, car, toa. O and H is going to be using sine. So sine of 65 degrees equals the opposite side over hypotenuse, which is x over 10. Move that over a bit. There you go. And then times both sides by 10, because that gets rid of this one here. It's the inverse of divide by 10 is times by 10. So 10 sine 65 equals x. And then we just type that into the calculator and we'll get x equals something. So I've got my calculator here, 10 times sine 65. Let's go 2 decimal places, 9.06. And there you go. So that's what we've done previously. Now we're going to solve if it's the denominator that we don't know. So you can see here, that was our unknown. That's the numerator. This next question, we're going to be solving for the denominator. And it's really not that different. Just that step of solving the equation right at the end is going to work out differently. So let's consider, nice and easy, this triangle. Let's say we don't know the denominator, and this side is 5 meters long. And let's say this angle looks a bit shallow this time. Let's say it's 40 degrees in here. All right, now, first step, same as last time. We're going to be labeling the triangle. So if this is the angle that we care about here, well then hypotenuse and adjacent to that angle. Lastly is opposite, but you can see we're trying to find H. We've got A, so A and H mean I'm using cosine. So cos of that angle 40 equals adjacent over hypotenuse, 5 over x. Now you can see what we did last time was multiply by the denominator. And we're actually going to have to do the same thing again. What we'll find though is when I times both sides by x, and those are going to cancel because they're inverse of each other, I'll end up with x cos 40 equals 5, which doesn't help me because x isn't by itself. Remember, however, cos 40 degrees like this is one number. There's a lot of characters there, but it's still just one number. It's a ratio of two sides, and our calculator stores all the values. And so we can divide by cos 40. We're not dividing by 40 and then dividing by cos, or the other way around. We've got to get rid of this all at once because it is one number. So x equals 5 divided by cos 40 degrees. Now on your calculator, when you type that in, you're going to have to finish the bracket at the end of cos 40, and I get 6.53 meters. Now you've got to finish the bracket. You don't usually when you're multiplying, but with the brackets it gets a bit fussy, so make sure that you are finishing that one off. Now you'll notice we did it in two steps here. I'll just write what we did here. We divided by cos 40 on both sides. We times by the x to get rid of divide by x and put it over to this side. And then the inverse of cos 40 is timesing by cos 40 is dividing by cos 40. You'll notice, however, I'll get a different color here. This number here and this number here, in the two steps, what they did was switch places. So once we get some practice, we'll go straight to just swapping those places rather than doing it step by step. We call that the switcheroo. It might help if you draw yourself a little lame kangaroo next to it the first couple of times, just so you remember that you're doing switcheroo. So let's draw another right angled triangle. This time let's have our unknown value here. Let's say that's 13 centimeters, and in here, quite large angle, let's say 75 degrees. Now I'm going to start off just like we always do, label the triangle. So hypotenuse, if this is the angle that we are relating it all to, well then that one's next to it, it's the adjacent, and that one is opposite. I've got a value for opposite, and I've got a I want to find the value of adjacent. So those are the two values I'm working with, O and A. O and A mean that I'm going to be using tan. So tan of 75 equals opposite over adjacent, 13 over x. Now, we notice that x is on the bottom of the fraction, the denominator. And so in our previous example, we did two steps to swap them, but this time we're just going to do it in one go. What we're going to do is times both sides by x, so that will come over to here, and divide by tan 75, so that one will come down to this side. And I'll be left with x equals 13 over tan 75 degrees. When you put it in the calculator, remember your bracket. 13 divided by tan 75. 3.48. And we're using centimeters. And there we go. So that is finding the denominator. Really not too different, but definitely worth practicing. And next time we'll practice some mixed problems where you've got to figure out, are you doing this switcheroo method or are you doing the method that we did up here in our quick question where you just times it. All right, I'll leave the examples, the textbook work on Canvas, and so you can work through those questions.